everyone. It's great to have us all back for our month of September Learn More series. My name is Tash. I'm the program director with No More Under, and September is Infant Safety Month. So we are really excited today to be with an expert in this area, Liz. She is a ISR instructor, a mom, a master of many trades, balancing work-life balance, all of that fun stuff. And I would love to hand it over to you, Liz, to just give yourself a little bit of an introduction. Do not be shy. I read your profile, so I know all of your amazing experience. And let's just jump in and hear about you.
Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Liz Huber, and as Tosh just said, I'm an ISR mom turned instructor. I started as a school teacher, and I had a background in business and philanthropy, but really just wanted to work with kids and was teaching first graders and third graders and math intervention. And I had two babies that were 1 and 2, and we love being around water. And a kind stranger had the courage to tell me when I was swimming with my kids that there was a better way to do it. And it was this thing called ISR. And we decided to take that leap and enroll in this 6-week intensive self-rescue swim program for our kids. And at ages 1 and 2, after about 5 or 6 weeks, they were swimming, floating, self-rescuing, completely independent in the water. And I quickly saw the opportunity to go into something that still allowed me to teach and connect with my community, but also run my own business at the time. This was before we started the nonprofit, and decided to trade in my teaching job for a wetsuit, became an instructor. And it only took about a year of that, of trying to increase access and awareness in Chicago, to realize, oh, maybe a team approach would be better. This is a big city, and the statistics about drowning were crazy scary. And so we started the nonprofit in 2018, and our mission is to create safer swimmers sooner, but we do it through not only education for families, but scholarships for self-rescue swim lessons. We support a team of instructors, and whatever curveball gets thrown our way in this crazy mission, we just kind of try to tackle it as we go, and we've grown from there.
That's so amazing. Yeah, we definitely want to dive into the access piece, and I know that you do some scholarships, which is amazing, but I'd love to back up for a second, just in case we have people that are less familiar with the aquatic world. Let's start at the super basics. What is ISR? What does it stand for? What is it, and why is there some interesting feelings around it? Let's dive into that.
Ooh, that was a lot of questions all in one.
Oh my God.
So before we dive into the what is ISR, I was a new mom in my community. I lived in that community for a long time and was connected through teaching, but knew through having taught some traditional swim lessons that some swim lessons work better than others. And so I had been asking around from the time my kids were born, where do you swim? Do you like it? Does it work? Could your kid jump off a diving board and swim to the side? And this was, again, before I even knew how bad the drowning statistics were. Everyone knows that water safety is important, but we just don't know how prevalent these issues are. And I got a million different answers in my community. We live in a big suburb right near Chicago. We have access to every opportunity, programs and sports. And people had done everything from private lessons to, those big box swim schools, to the park district, to the local high school, and, a million different answers. My kids like it, or my kids don't, or it's really fun, but no one had a kid under 5 that could swim. And I had seen a few 3-year-olds swim, and that's what I wanted for my kids. And so when I found out about ISR, it was actually at a hotel pool in Florida. And I had kind of given up on enrolling in some lessons that weren't going to teach my kids until 5. And so I was trying to teach my kids myself, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I had my 16-month-old, and I was throwing her up and letting her submerge. And she was holding her breath. And then I was pulling her out and cheering for her. And she was, a little bit stunned, but okay with it, and clapping for herself. And we were doing it over and over again. And it's funny, we were at a hotel, and the manager of the pool restaurant came out to discuss an order with us. My kids have food allergies, so I think he was showing me like a peanut butter jar or something. And he said, "Oh my gosh, your baby's so cute. How old is she?" And I said, "She's 1." And he said, "Well, can she swim?" And I said, "Well, no, we're working on it." And he said, "Okay, did you know what you're doing is actually pretty dangerous?" And, I had two options at that point. One was to think that he was kind of a jerk, and two, to kind of take a deep breath and listen. And it pretty much one thing led to the next. And it was, "Have you ever heard of ISR? We did it with my babies. What you're showing her right now is that when she goes underwater, you're going to be there to help her every time." And we had someone come to our house and teach our infant how to roll to a float. And so I lit up, because this is what I'd been looking for. And I put all my pride aside. I kind of knew I didn't know what I was doing. And I got this piece of paper for an ISR instructor in Florida. And, it kind of just stayed in the bottom of my purse for a while. And when I finally called her, because we were going back to Florida a few months later, I said, "Hey, I have 6 nieces and nephews, and we're going to be in Florida for 7 days. And I want you to come teach my kids to swim." And that's when I really learned what ISR was. Because what she said was, what ISR, which is Infant Swimming Resource, is a 6-week program. We will skill your children. They will learn to be independent in the water, roll to a float, rest and breathe, and save themselves in the event of an emergency. But it has to be over 6 weeks. It's daily lessons for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I didn't get into the lessons till Chicago, but ISR was founded in 1966 by a man named Harvey Barnett, who went on to become a behavioral psychologist. And his dream was to find a way to get these infants and babies more equipped in water. So it used to be called Infant Swimming Research. And through safely guided, I don't want to say trial and error, because, no one's ever been hurt through this process, but through, safely guided practice opportunities, and through getting some psychology degrees and building a team of amazing professionals, they have created this resource in this empire. And to me, it's an empire. But of, I think, about 1,000 self-rescue instructors that are highly trained to teach kids 6 months to 6 years old how to swim, float, and self-rescue.
I think it's so amazing that this man walked up to you to talk about that. I consider how many people don't know about ISR, and it's just one of those things where you're like, "Oh yes, I'm going to do a mommy and me class." And we all have these things. It is about who is in your community, who you ask. And if no one knows about it, just like no one knows, I don't want to say no one knows about the drowning statistics, but unless someone tells you, you don't know. And the same is very similar.
I really didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And so the one thing that I do want to, I just don't even want to walk around it or avoid it, but it seems like some people love ISR and some people are really opposed to it. And can you just talk a little bit about, I don't know what the best way to approach this is. I think what I've seen about ISR is that kids can survive. If they fall in the water, they know exactly what to do. And the one thing that I do want you to talk about, Liz, is, look, I've got another 5 questions that maybe you might have to write down as well, but it is like a physical response, right? Like with the training and why it happens over the course of every day for 6 weeks, you're almost teaching the children this physical response. So I think that that's really interesting and intriguing, but I think people are freaked out because of the screaming and crying. Is that kind of the big uproar, would you say?
It's funny, because I asked myself the same question, how would you not want this? And we're talking about ISR today. That's the certification that I was trained under. It's the certification that we choose for the instructors on our team. There are other high quality self-rescue programs for sure. So I'll interchange between ISR and self-rescue. When I found out about these lessons, I felt like I needed to have them. It was a no-brainer. And a lot of our swim families are the same. I don't know if it's a personality type or access to the water, or, maybe we're overprotective, but I wouldn't say that drowning's the leading cause of death. But a lot of our clients, when they come in, or a lot of our swimmers, they've just been on the wait list since they were pregnant, and they want this. So to me, if there's something that can protect my child that's also enriching and empowering, I want it. And my kids have been through a lot of different therapies in their lives. They're both profoundly gross and fine motor delayed. So everything physical that you can think of that a kid should be doing, from bike riding to walking, to crawling, to stacking a block, to using a fork, there's not a single one of those things that my kids have done on time. So I've learned early therapy is not a bad thing. Special attention is not a bad thing. I'll have friends call me in a panic that their kids need speech. That's not something my kids needed, but I've always said, if there's ever someone that's a specialist in what they do that's going to give one-on-one attention to your kid, take it. It doesn't matter what it's for. Our different therapists have been just amazing people in our lives. So for me, the drowning prevention piece of this is, of course, is what we all want. We want our kids to be safe. But my kids, as a result of these lessons, they ate better, they slept better, they were more confident in and out of the water. I told you they had struggled with motor things. My 1-year-old learned to clap at the side of the pool, which comes easily to a lot of kids, but didn't to mine. And so we were just hooked from that empowerment standpoint. I later learned it's called the healing power of sport. So I think, a lot of us love it for safety. A lot of us love it for the empowerment. Why do people not do it? None of us think it could happen to us. I still don't think that drowning could happen to me. We can't live that way. Which is why I'm so very happy that the solution here is also a life sport and something fun. The commitment is a ton. It's daily for 6 weeks. I'm a working mom. My husband works, like I'm sure most people listening here, join the club. But the idea of getting somewhere every single day for 6 weeks is wild. And we do get a lot of people that will join our wait list, but it's almost like they don't want to come off of it because they don't know how they're going to fit it into their schedule. So I would say commitment is big. The crying, there's all types of us, but you'll hear some really moving things from parents that have lost kids that say, a crying baby is a breathing baby, or I would give anything to hear her cry, or it's a built-in alarm system on the surface of the water. And those are things that I don't say often because it's just still so heavy. But they cry when they go in their car seats. They cry when you leave them in their crib and they're overtired and it's nap time. They cry about brushing their teeth. They would cry if you handed them to a stranger to go down their favorite slide. So they're definitely going to cry in lessons. The pool is warmish water, but it's not as cozy as mom's arms. They're working hard and they're going to cry. I haven't had a kid yet that's completed the program that hasn't had some smiles. I haven't had a kid yet and when I say we have a team of us. So we've reached about 1,000 kids so far that isn't happy to see their instructor when they get into the pool area in week 6, or isn't happy to give them a hug goodbye. I compare it to us at the gym. If I didn't have a filter on the treadmill, I would be crying too, and then when I leave, I'm like, oh, I'm coming back tomorrow. And then, if I could tell you how I really feel on the way back into that gym, I might be crying in the locker room. So, I think it's knowing that this could happen to you on whatever level you can stomach, making the commitment, and then knowing your kid is going to cry. That's how they communicate. Some people don't love it. And our mission has always been, we want people to know that this exists, that it's possible for a child to learn this, and then to help them get it at a price and location that's feasible for them. I'm not really in the business of convincing everyone that they need to do it, but I do believe everyone deserves the information of what's possible.
And Liz, I think that that's huge what you said, a couple of things, but one, children cry at lessons. I consider even Yori was just at regular lessons and he didn't want to get in. So I just think that if a child has fear sometimes, or there's something new and challenging, again, that's how they communicate. But it is life-saving. And that's what's so amazing to me about this. Is that while I always say that lessons are not created equal, I do think getting your child in a swimming program is the most important thing you can do. And then as a parent, you should be able to decide what you feel comfortable with and how you feel comfortable moving forward. And again, what type of lesson is good for you and or your child. But to me, ISR, just seeing it. And I'm hopeful. I haven't figured out yet if we're going to be able to, edit in some footage into this interview, but just seeing the way that it works and seeing children start from the beginning to the end, babies, it's wild to me. And Tosh is like our swim instructor, former swim instructor, former world swimmer. So she knows all the swim things, but to me, it just blows my mind. That this can be taught. And again, I think of the mommy and me classes that I took with my children. And while it was nice to bond with them, they would not have been able necessarily to save themselves. If anything, I'm getting them comfortable
with them at gymnastics.
That's right. Well, I'm getting comfortable with them in the water so much so that they feel comfortable in the water and don't necessarily know. Even my 5-year-old, we still work with a life jacket, and I said, hey, let's take off your life jacket so you can see how much this is helping you. And he went, he had to work, but kids don't necessarily understand that. And that's, I think, what that gentleman was saying to you, when he saw you with your kid.
Yes. And I think I was asking for it with him. I was so proud, and I thought my kid was so cute, and I thought what she was doing was so amazing. So I probably asked for it, but this is the first time that I've really thought about it in these terms. But I think parents know that it's so very important that their kid learns to swim. I don't think they realize that it should really happen right away at 1 or 2 or 3, not waiting till 5. But we all do know that it's extremely important and that it has to happen. And I think that's maybe why we overthink the tiers, because we don't want to jinx it or take the wrong route. And so it becomes very emotional for us. And we're dealing with the what ifs while we're seeing them cry, and we're second guessing ourselves. And, we really want to change the narrative of, like car seats and like the Back to Sleep campaign in the 90s. This is hard. But it being hard is part of it. And it doesn't mean you're doing it the wrong way. It's giving them real information about how to respect the water. If we could change that, I think we'd have a lot more people that are not on the fence anymore.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you shared that you're not here to change everyone's minds, but you're here to offer it to those that are ready to jump in and help make their infants safer. So speaking of that side of it, the access side, I was looking through CAST, which is your amazing organization, and a big part of the website is talking about access, and you've mentioned that speaking with us now as well. I saw that it looks like you may work with another foundation. It looks like you might do scholarships. So I'd love to hear a little bit, with No More Under, a big part of what we do is that access, the inclusivity, creating an equitable opportunity. So I'd love to hear how your team is doing that to help make our infants safer.
And
Sure.
and I think also your why, Liz. I think that's really important as well, to know what your why is in addition.
Yes. Which one do I do first? I guess they'll kind of tie together, but people always assume that we had a close connection to a drowning when this started, and we didn't. We just, like I said, we had kids that so badly needed to be empowered, and this was the way we did it, and then they were safer too. But at Lessons, the first family that we met was a family that had a little boy named Ben. And what struck me about this family was there were always 2 or 3 of them there cheering this kid on. And I had my 2 kids, and I had to get back to work on time, and I was feeling, overwhelmed and under-supported and unsure of myself. I didn't know anyone that had ever done these lessons. And in the meantime, Ben, who was maybe crying really loud, but kicking better than my kids, and in my opinion, we compare ourselves swimming better than my kids, he had this whole support system. And Ben's mom had grandma come with, or her husband come with, and I kind of self-consciously or subconsciously thought, oh, that must be nice. Well, a year later, I was an instructor and I was back at the same pool with our instructor, just working with her and learning from her. And in come Ben and Ben's mom and a little baby. And she kind of recognized me. We hadn't totally, exchanged names or phone numbers. We were just saying hi at the pool last year. And she said, oh my gosh, wait, is that you? Are you doing this? And I said, yeah, I just so interested in it. And she said, I've thought of doing it too. And I said, oh, you have to do it. Because at this point I knew that CAST was on the horizon and I wanted to build a team. And she said, well, I don't know if I'd have the guts. I don't know if you know my situation. And that's when she told me that she had lost a child to drowning. And so I'd known this family for a whole year. And it turns out her daughter drowned the day that my daughter was born. And so we're bringing in this little baby that we have the opportunity to safeguard at lessons into the world on, their terribly dark, terrible, hard day. And now we're meeting at swim lessons. And as soon as she found out that I was an instructor, she felt like she could open up to me, and she started crying. And she said, can I ask you something that I wanted to ask you since the day I first met you? And I said, sure. And she said, how did you get to know about these lessons before you lost a child? And I'm only here because my daughter is gone. And at this time, I was only a year in, and we were debating between how widely do we shout this opportunity when we have such a long wait list, versus we don't want to make people mad by telling them about this thing that they can't get. But we were kind of leaning in that moment to, we need to shout this opportunity very widely. Supply or demand increases supply normally over time. And if nothing else, we need the families on our wait list, I hate that name, wait list, to have the facts and the water safety education and the tools. So we do increase access by helping instructors join the mission. We give scholarships to families with income-based need. We have discounts for teachers, nurses, military, first responders, social workers, kids with physical disabilities. No one's turned away on account of cost. But we're a small team, and we have a facility and a team of instructors. So, we love partnering with other organizations. There's no more under doing amazing work. Thank you for having me. Live Like Jake, Judah Brown. There's so many that are giving scholarships for the exact same thing. And I just think, these kids are counting on us to be on the same team and join together and share a similar message. So that's definitely what we try to do. One of our values is meaningful collaboration, and anything we can do to just build up other organizations. We're so fortunate not to have our organization in honor of our child. We were one of the lucky ones, but your guys' stories are what really speak to people. I have automatic lights. There we go. Sorry. So, I don't know if I've fully answered your question. Some of your guys' questions are big, but beyond the scholarships and everything, we feel fortunate, especially having come out of the pandemic, to be able to say that awareness can save a life. Like, we are nonprofits that you can help for free by just talking about us, by letting people know the facts, by making sure not one more parent needs to say, I wish I knew. So that's kind of what we do. We love our partners, and it can be a lonely, hard mission. I can't imagine not getting to connect with you all. And we say drowning prevention is not a competitive sport.
No, it's true. It's as many of us that can get the word out. And again, I just think it is spreading the word, giving people options, letting people know. And I think what we've really been trying to lean towards is the water safety piece, because I just feel like when you say the word drowning, honestly, people are like, this isn't going to happen to me. Like, what do you mean drowning? This isn't me. This isn't my family. But it's like, yeah, that's right. And so I think really why we, started to make a little shift was just, hey, let's really go after the education of water safety and really go after making sure that everyone knows that this isn't like ballet and gymnastics and baseball. Like, this is something that everyone deserves. It's a life-saving skill that we should all be able to have access to, equally.
And what I'm trying to figure out is, people know water safety is important, but we just don't know what we don't know about it. And so, how do we band together to let people know, like, water safety is not what you think it is. If it's what we all thought it was, we wouldn't be in this situation. And, we constantly trial and error and work on our messaging. But as you know, people find the loophole or turn a blind eye, or it's just so sad they can't look at it. There's just simple things like being in the water with your kid instead of letting them play in a floaty that would make a huge difference. But then, you don't want them not to wear those on open water or, poolside. And so it's just so tricky, and learning from each other and seeing what works and doesn't work and coming up with a shared message would be huge.
That's right. I agree with that. I just mentioned that actually on the Families United call this last week, where I said, hey, if we could all be shouting out the same message, honestly, from the Red Cross YMCA down, to just help get that click it or ticket message out, or the, got milk. Anyway, that's for another call.
Or back to sleep. Yeah.
That's right. We just need that for sure. And I think we all try and do as much work as we can until the next swim season comes up, and, try and get everything going. But I am curious, like, you did list a couple of things, but do you have like one thing or the top two things that you say either about ISR or about getting your kids into swim lessons? Or another way to frame it.
Working on it, we think about it every day.
Fair. Well, if you had one thing that you wanted the people watching this to know about ISR, or CAST in general, what would that thing be?
I think as parents, we're thrown curveballs from the minute those babies get put in our arms. It's not what we think it is. It's not as easy as we thought. There's constantly challenges that we weren't expecting, but we do them. And this reality of water safety is one of them. This area that was our pool and our vacation and our relaxation and our fun and our party zone becomes the biggest threat to your kids' lives. And what I would say is, they're learning about that environment from the minute they experience it with you, and giving them the experiences that they need will completely change the narrative for them. Could they still fall in? Yes. Do we think a lot of the kids that are lost to drowning actually jump in because they didn't understand what it really was? We do. So holding them in the pool so that they know until they can swim that you are someone they need with them in the water, making it a place that they've never been without you, is really important. Of course, life vests saved lives in the event of a fall in. So if you have a child that can't swim or is adventurous or reckless, they all are, right? Keep those life jackets on a pier, on a boat, even poolside at a party when you can't be with them. So often we see it on only in the water, where they're having more fun than they should be, more independently than they should be. And then the minute they get out, they take it off. Just switch it. Put it on when they get out. Take it off when they get in, and hold them. Let go of them. Let them feel their buoyancy. They really do hold their breath. We've had very, very few issues, if any, of them not figuring out. They've all been in the bath and whatnot, that you close your mouth and block the water out when it comes up. Let them feel it. Let them experience it. Find high quality lessons if you can. A lot of people can't. Don't panic. Just make those experiences as real as possible.
That's great advice. The getting out and taking it that's huge.
Yeah, I nothing scares me more than a puddle jumper by the side of the pool.
Yeah.
But there's no child in the pool. So somewhere there's a child that just wore that in the pool. It's sopping wet. They just had a ton of fun, and now they're nearby and they don't have it on anymore. They've just jumped in it 10 times. What's going to stop them? It's the same way of don't take another cookie. Like, one day your kid's going to take that other cookie. It was yummy. It was fun.
That's so powerful. Yeah, that is. I love that messaging, that it's actually the life jackets are the and it's like a seatbelt. You don't just put the seatbelt on when you're about to rear end someone, right? You have the seatbelt on the whole time. So it's that understanding of the risk being there, but sharing the joy of it as well, because that is a big part of it, is they're attracted to it. And a lot of us are. The water is a beautiful place, and we want our children and infants, especially since we're talking about ISR here, to enjoy it, but having the skills to enjoy it safely. That's the big thing, right? And yeah, I love that. The life jackets on, out of the water. It's a big piece. That's a big
And then
piece.
I would watch them. If I had a little one right now, my kids are 6 and 7 now, but if we were at a barbecue and we had that life jacket on, I would watch the kid just as hard, because I don't want them to fall in with it. It might be even worse than falling in without it, assuming I was right there. Then there's no consequence. Maybe it was kind of fun. They probably got a lot of attention. And we just have to really micromanage what they're experiencing and make it real and let them understand. They deserve to know.
Yeah,
That's right. Speaking of deserving to know, I'm wondering, can you give the information for people across the country of where to find ISR folks in their area?
Sure. So there's a website, infantswim.com, and that has an ISR database everywhere. Almost all instructors are independent business owners. So just like choosing a doctor, like doctors are good people, you want to ask questions. You want to probably observe lessons or get a testimonial or talk to them on the phone and make sure it feels right. So many of us don't have ISR lessons. And so we really want to make sure that you guys aren't panicking, and that you know that there are other options. There's a list on castwatersafety.org. I believe it's under lessons. It might be called Find a Quality Instructor. And it's questions to ask of your instructor, whether it's ISR or another program. And then there's a few programs down there to consider. That's by no means all of them. There's amazing instructors everywhere. But this is someone that hopefully will be in your family's life for a few years, and they should be giving you resources and have your back and be team players and have good certifications. So you can link right to the ISR website from that page on the CAST website as well.
perfect. And we'll share that link as well when we post it up on YouTube. We'll make sure it's clickable for everyone, because it's just, like you said, it's access, it's awareness, it's sharing the word, which is part of why, well, the reason we do this talks. If you can't get into swimming lessons, let's at least share things online, because that's awareness is a huge step in changing the statistics that we've talked about, and infants being so highly at risk of consequences in the water. So yeah, we hugely appreciate your time, Liz. The work that your team is doing is amazing. You're saving lives, and like you said, 1,000 children through your program. That's 1,000 children whose lives have been changed, or families and their families have been changed. So we hugely appreciate instructors and organizations like yours that are pushing towards safer swimming experiences, that are open to collaborating, because like we said, the word is stronger when there's more of us saying it and sharing it. So just thank you for your time, for your knowledge, and for the work that you're doing. We've really appreciated talking with you.
Thank you for what you guys do. Your courage is amazing. And, every person that you tell through your work is one more person that's going to, spread it to their community as well. So it's just amazingly kind and appreciated. And I'm really grateful to be here and to connect with you guys.
Thank you, Liz. I look forward to like a hug sometime in the near future.
I know.
I'm hopeful that we'll be in Chicago. Yes, I would love to just do a visit, and
I feel like I want to interview you now. This is too short. This is too short. Everything you've done is so inspiring and just out of this world. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you
so much. It is like the support and having, people like you and other organizations, like we keep each other going. This is not easy. Like it gets hard. And then when you look at the statistics and you look in the newspaper, I always feel like I'm not doing enough, but we have to just understand that we're doing the best that we can and touching as many lives as we can, and we'll just keep pushing, keep going. So I appreciate the encouragement and your kind words, and again, very much like Tosh said, I am inspired by what you all do as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.